Today, we're going to talk about digital content and Facebook groups, learning some tips and tricks for your organization or your personal advocacy. Digital content is really important because you want to make sure that your message is getting across. It's more than just trying to get a lot of likes. It's really trying to make sure that your message is heard and taken in so that people will take action. So that's what we're really trying to get to today. So we will start about knowing your various platforms. There are a lot of platforms out there. The biggest ones that we'll probably focus on are Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. There's obviously TikTok, LinkedIn, Snapchat, things like that, but those are probably less used as you're starting up your social media. So Facebook, Twitter, Instagram are the main three that we will focus on. But it doesn't matter what platform you're going to use. The first tip that I have for you guys is to be a dedicated user before creating that content. So if you are going to create a TikTok for your organization or just for yourself, before you start posting, it's good to follow other organizations, other people that post content that you would like to emulate. That way, you just know the trends that are going on. You know what type of things to post. Obviously, if you follow people on Facebook, you know that it talks about a lot of personal content, a lot of positivity. So that's something that you'll take and put into your Facebook content rather than TikTok is about following certain trends. So it's just good to be a user before you start creating that content as well. Another tip is to schedule content if you can. So I know that there are different things like Game and Hootsuite, those are scheduling platforms, but those often do cost money. So it can be good to just go on Facebook or Twitter. They have, once you go to post, they have a little calendar and you can schedule content directly on the platform. That's free to use, anyone can use it. And so that's really great just to put awareness out there that, if you have an event coming up, but you might forget about the event, something is going on, you can't be on social media at the time. It's good to just schedule that content so that you know that it's going up when you want it to. So that can really help as well for Facebook and Twitter. And so now I'm going to go into some of the posting norms. Each platform is really different. And so this is where being a user on each platform is really going to help you when you're about to post content. Just some tips to know. So posting less frequently on Facebook and Instagram is really important compared to Twitter and TikTok. So I would say for Facebook, you probably want to keep it only at 1 to 2 posts a day. I think anything more than that is just going to overwhelm your audience on Facebook. On Instagram, once a day max is what I would say. Even for the week, just posting like 2 times on Instagram per week is very good. You can always post more stories if you want to, really show your messaging. And as far as Twitter and TikTok, for those platforms, it doesn't really matter how much you post. That's all right. Your users will see it and not really like unfollow you usually on Twitter if you're posting a lot. So that's fine. If you have, updates about a debate that's going on in the legislature, that's where you would want to, put that on Twitter, not necessarily Facebook. Another posting norm is just that the shorter it is, the better it is. Just like you and I, we probably, when you think about yourself scrolling through Facebook or Twitter, if you see a long paragraph, you might not read it all. So you'll just want to make sure that you're not posting too often or too long of content while you're posting. That's just a good thing to do for any platform. Another thing to remember is that positivity might be great for Facebook. And so on Twitter, you're probably going to want to save your critiques for Twitter. So if you are targeting a certain legislator, for example, the vouchers bill, if you want to target Governor Reynolds for that, Twitter is a really good place to do that because people respond better to critiques on there. Positivity is where you want to be for Facebook. So if you're thanking legislators, if you want to say that public dollars are for public schools, that's something you can do on Facebook. But critiquing legislators, you'll want to rarely do that on Facebook because people might just get overwhelmed with the negative content on there. And so with that, long form engagement is really easy on Twitter, people commenting, responding to your stuff. So if you have a question like, what was the worst part of session? People are probably going to comment more on your Facebook rather than your Twitter. Twitter is more for likes and retweets. It's rare that someone's going to reply to your tweet. A lot of times people are going to reply to your tweet if they don't agree with you. but that's fine too because it gets your engagement up. So don't even worry about that. Um, and then the last tip on this slide is just, creating shareable content with each platform in mind. Keep the trends in mind on Twitter, on Instagram, TikTok. Trends are an important thing. So that's why you want to be a user. But on Facebook, you don't have to keep too much in mind for trends. Facebook users aren't really caring too much about trends at the moment. So going to the next slide, we're going to talk a little bit about creating engaging messaging. This is really important when you're creating content, especially for places that you have more characters that you're allowed to use. So Facebook, for example. So we have this good resource, and these slides are going to be shared with you guys afterwards. So Anat Shanker Osorio has this great handbook talking about engaging messages. And so what she says is that you should really, lead with your shared values. This is really important because I think a lot of times progressives, we have this way of responding to things, especially it's understandable because we live in Iowa. So we respond to things like these vouchers are horrible. The bills against transgender kids in sports are horrible. It's really easy to go down that road, and sometimes we should. But when you're trying to, show people what your progressive platform is all about, it's really good to lead with a shared value to show that Iowans believe in public education, Iowans believe in equal rights for all. That's a really good way to kind of change how you think about messaging. So that's why you'd want to lead with that shared value. And the next one is to offer clear opposition. And so that can be easy a lot of times. A lot of times it's Governor Reynolds or, Iowa Republicans. So this example is, however, Governor Reynolds has pushed for vouchers that will take public funds away from these public schools. That's pretty easy to find for our state at least. And then next, you're going to want to share your vision. So in this one, we say it's time for our legislators to put our public education system back on the map and invest in our schools. You'll just want to say, what kind of future you want for our state. You can say it's time for, public dollars to go to public schools. It's time for children to be treated, with respect, things like that. And so the last one is that you're going to want to provide a call to action. This is really important on Facebook, especially. The one here is to tell your legislator to say no to vouchers today. A lot of times you can link to a petition, you can link to other organizations who are doing work on this. And so that's just a really positive way to spin messaging because a lot of times people might see in their feeds, oh, Republicans are doing these horrible things at the legislature. That sucks, but you need to get to that next step to kind of empower them to take action. So that's going to lead us into our next slide on creating visual content, which is really important when you're on Facebook and Instagram. Twitter, you can kind of get away with just putting words out there, but visuals are sometimes great for Twitter as well. But Facebook and Instagram, visuals do extremely well. And so it'd be great if you have a message that's really important regarding, vouchers to put a visual out there. So if you're going to convey a worded message with your visual, it's great to keep it short. So with all of the voucher stuff, it's great to put an image out there that says something like public dollars belong in public schools. That way it just gets right to the point and it'll grab people's attention. They can read all of the words on your post if they want to know more. So you can use tools to create a clear message. You don't have to be a graphic designer to do this, and you don't have to pay for it either. There's some really great tools out there. Canva is a really good option for you to use. They have a free version. They also have a paid version, which is about $12 a month. So your organization can buy that, but you can also get it for free if you're an individual. I'll just go to Canva right now just to show you what it looks like. It's just a really easy platform after you like other social media platforms. Once you use Canva enough, you'll be able to know more about how it works. On the right hand side here, it says create a design. You can just click on that. It shows you the different dimensions if you're on Instagram, Facebook, etc. So you can just click Instagram post. And so we were talking about public money belongs in public schools. So you can just use one of their templates that they have. So they have one about schools here. I found that just by typing school over here. And so it gives you all the different templates that they have. And so we can use this one and just type in the option here, public money belongs in public schools, etc. You can do that, or if you want to create an original design, you can also just go over to, their elements that they have here. You can type in, if you want a chalkboard and then you want to say public money belongs in public schools, you can find, an image of a chalkboard, put it in the background. You can put some text on there. On the left-hand side, it says text, add a heading. You can use their permanent marker one to make it look like chalk and say public money belongs in public schools, things like that. It'll take some time to get used to. And if you want any help with that, please let me know. You can email me and then we can go over that more in depth. But this was just like a little bit of an overview of how Canva works. And so we can get more into that one-on-one as well. So I will go back to our slides. But Canva is just a really good way to create visual content that's going to grab grab people on Facebook, especially, to interact with it. So that's really important. So next, I'm going to talk about creating videos for your advocacy. Just like images are great on Facebook, videos are really great on Facebook. Videos are also obviously good for YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. So that's just something to keep in mind. But when you're thinking about creating videos, it doesn't have to be some complicated thing that you're putting into iMovie or Adobe. It can just be something that you tape on your phone and then put it out there. So an important thing to do for that is to, use content that you already have. If you're going to a protest, if, you're going to something where you're going to an office visit and you just want someone who you're advocating with, or you want a friend to take a video of yourself, you can have them take the video. Faces are great. That really gets people's attention, and just have that person give, a 15, 30-second spiel why they're there, and then you post it. That can really garner attention as well. And you can end the video with a call to action saying, you should speak out to your legislator as well, etc. That could be really useful. So there's a lot of different tips that also go into videos. But everyone, if you take enough videos, you'll kind of get the hang of it. Facebook and YouTube, horizontal is the best way to go. TikTok and Instagram, vertical is the best way to go. And then while you're taking the video, you'll want to make sure at the bottom of if you have an iPhone, the microphone is on, the bottom usually. So you don't want to block that. That can be an important thing. So the best advice I have for you is after you tape the video, watch it back real quick, make sure you can hear yourself. A lot of times on social media, the audio is even more important than the visual. That's what gets people to stay there and understand what's going on. So audio is really important while you're doing that. And so last up for this part is that once you have content that you create for yourself and your own organization, you can also create content for your audience to share. A great way to do this is to create click-to-tweet links. Click-to-tweet.com is a great way to do this. We use it. We don't usually have any problems with it. So that's a great resource that I would share with you. That way, if you're emailing people, telling them to tweet things, if they just have to click one button to do it, it's a lot easier for them to take action. Whenever you give them click-to-tweets, it's really important to just give them general statements as well. And for vouchers, one of these examples is that I believe public money belongs in public schools. I'll be calling my rep today and urging them to vote no on vouchers. Will you join me? That is just a really general statement, because once you get into attacking certain legislators, etc., less and less people might be willing to share that post. And so having at least one general at the top is really important. You can also use these click-to-tweet links to organize a tweet storm. You can collaborate with other organizations. You can collaborate with us. If you ever want to do that, let us know. You can create these click-to-tweet links, spread them through email with your advocates, fellow advocates, with organizations as well. Other organizations can share it to their email list. And then at the same time, you can all click to tweet something so that your message that you're sharing gets a wider audience. We did this with, Corporate Kim whenever she was giving her State of the Union response. And so that got a lot of attention just because a lot of different people were using that hashtag. And so that's where I would say to create a main hashtag to promote and just make sure that everyone's using that. If you are talking about an issue that other organizations have already touched on, make sure to look at the hashtags they're using. For example, ISEA uses no vouchers IA, so you probably want to use that hashtag if you're talking about vouchers, things like that. So that's just really important to keep in mind. And that was the last slide that I had, but next we have Amy, our amazing organizer, so I'll give it off to her.
Thank you, Ivy. And I'm going to share just a little bit more in depth on the Facebook part of this. So a lot of times what happens is we have a group that we form because of common interests or common ideas. And the best way to get people together and working on the same platform is to create a Facebook group. So a Facebook group is a really great way to engage with members, people who have similar ideas to you, they have similar interests, they have similar goals. And a lot of times organizations will start these Facebook groups. So Facebook groups can be private or they can be public. Just remember that when your Facebook group is public, anyone can see it, anyone can comment on it. It is out there in the world. Sometimes people want to be a little more guarded. And so they'll create a closed Facebook group or a private Facebook group. And there are, of course, settings that you can put in place, like having moderator approved comments, having moderator approved posts, things like that. So just remember, when you're setting this up, you want to create a safe and welcoming community. And sometimes in order to do that, you have to put some safeguards in place to protect the people who are posting and to protect the people who are commenting. The other thing to remember is that when you set up a private group, nothing on the internet is ever really private. People can take screenshots. They can still copy and paste and share content. So just remember, you don't ever really want to put anything on Facebook that you wouldn't share with other people, because once it's out there, it's out there. When you set up your Facebook group, it's really helpful to establish some guidelines. For example, no hate speech, no bullying, no derogatory comments. Let members know that they can be removed from the group if they fail to respect other people in this group. We value healthy conversation. It's good to get multiple viewpoints, but we really want to make sure that individuals, groups of people are being respected and not attacked for their ideas, for their beliefs. Within these groups. Make sure that you have moderators and administrators. So administrators are the people who are in charge of the page, and moderators are folks who can, moderate and kind of monitor what's happening. Make sure people know who the moderators and administrators are. Introduce yourself to the group. Make sure you're active on the page so folks know that this is a page where there's a lot of activity and people are paying attention to what is going on. When you have new folks join, create a welcome message, welcome them in, have others, say hello to them, so that it does create a sense of community, because that's really what you want in these Facebook groups, is to have that sense of community. Because you can start out very basic by sharing information, but then when you have like those bigger asks, like for a call to action, you've built a rapport and you've built an engaging community with those folks. So there's a sense of investment, and there's also a sense of trust. Know when to post. When are people going to be most active? When are they going to be most engaged? 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. seems to be the best time. That lunch period, a lot of folks are checking in on their social media. So, if you post something right before lunch, you might get a lot of people looking at that. You can also look in Facebook, and you can see when people are most active on your page. And so if you notice people are checking at 6 p.m., like that's a really active time on your Facebook group or Facebook page, go ahead and post at 6 p.m. because you know that a lot of people in your group are seeing it then. The other times that seem to be really good to post are Tuesdays through Fridays. That doesn't mean you can't post every day. It just means that's when people are most engaged. A lot of people are looking to see what's happening on the weekend. And Monday is kind of that first day of the work week. So people are kind of still working out, the start of their work week. So Tuesday through Friday seems to be when you get the best engagement with Facebook posts. Be careful not to post too much or too little. If you don't have content going out at a regular or scheduled interval, like Ivy mentioned, people will become disengaged. They won't follow your page because it really isn't reliable. And you don't want to post too much stuff, because then there's way too much information coming at people and they won't deem it as important. So usually 1 to 2 posts per day is a good kind of rule of thumb to follow. And then when you post, make sure that you are, or when others post too, make sure that you're engaging with it. Like it, or, heart it, or sad face, or angry face, any of those emojis will drive that post and keep lifting it up to the top. Comment on it, make sure that you're commenting on other posts so that people are seeing it and it's something, where folks are being active and they're engaging with it. What should you post in your Facebook group? I think Ivy mentioned this, and she gave you some really great tips and tricks on using Canva. And please, reach out if you do have any questions about that or about videos. That's something we can help you with. But photos and images and links are really great because they encourage interaction, right? You have to press play, or you have to click on the photo so you can see it or see the text, or you click on the link and it'll take you to an article, or maybe a news clip or something like that. So anything that has people clicking, engaging, just staying on that page a little bit longer is really good, because then you are bringing folks in and you're getting them active and involved. Create questions or create polls. What did you think of President Biden's State of the Union address, and give people options for that, or leave it as an open-ended question. Again, that encourages people to interact with your post on that Facebook page. Ivy mentioned this, go live if you have an event, if you have a parade or a booth or a fundraiser or a table, even if it's something just as simple as, filming the literature that you have at your table or at a fair booth or something like that. Just give little teasers to your audience to get them interested in what it is that you're doing and what's happening. And again, it gives them something to interact with, and it keeps engagement on that page. Make sure to tag people. So if you take a picture, tag folks who are in it, or there's videos, and then thank people. Anytime you tag someone by name, that again drives interaction, and it gets people engaged and spending more time in your Facebook group. Share success stories. What did your group do well? Maybe you had an Earth Day activity. Maybe you had a lobbying day at the Capitol. Share successes, share pictures, thank people for showing up. So just remember to be as engaging as possible and try to bring as many folks in as you can. And then I know Ivy mentioned this as well, but some sort of a call to action. It's great to have people engaged and active on Facebook, but we want to also be able to take that engagement in the real world, right? Can we ask people to write a letter to the editor? Can we ask people to call their lawmaker? Can we ask people to show up at an event? So when you do all of these steps and you build trust and you build engagement and you build that community, that will engage those folks and entice them then to meet up in real life and be active and be involved and take that next sort of bigger step toward activism. And then the last one, this is one of those things I think we see a lot of times, is people will say, can you make this public so we can share it? Just remember that when it is in a private group or a closed group, it cannot be shared. And always ask permission if you have something from a closed Facebook group or a closed page before you share it. So that's the information that I have. I know a lot of folks use Facebook groups, especially like county parties or organizations or things like that. So please reach out if you have questions about how to make that Facebook group or that Facebook page engaging. It's a lot cheaper than buying a web page, and some people don't know how to manage web pages, so Facebook is a good way to put out events and actions and things like that. So yeah, please reach out if you have any questions about managing Facebook groups, and one of us would be glad to help you. So that concludes our part of the presentation. So James, if you want to stop recording, please. Thank you.